Good morning, leaders. How are you? It's Anna T. Brooks here, your psychic empowerment coach and earth angel. Welcome to this week's training / share and energetic reading. Say hey when you jump on, whether you're catching this live or on the replay. Always love to hear from you and connect with you. So first thing, say hey when you jump on. I've got my other phone on me so I can make sure I keep up with any comments as you guys do jump on. Welcome to everyone who's new as well. We've had a few new members this week, so that's super exciting. If you are new here, welcome, say hello. Make sure you check out the announcement posts. That's where all of the goodies are located. So let's get into it for this week. So those of you who saw last week's live, you will know that I'm going through a little bit of a series within the group here for you guys, where I'm actually going through a different Oracle card deck that I use every single week and just sharing a little bit more about what it looks like, giving you a look at a lot of the cards, what they look like, and sharing a little bit more about how they work, how I use them, what I find this particular deck works really well for. And it gives you the opportunity just to see it a little bit more in depth, because I know when you're shopping for maybe an Oracle card deck online, you may not be able to see it very much, and it just you're not sure whether it's something that resonates with you. So hopefully this is going to give you a little bit more of that behind the scenes. So welcome. Let me know how you're going. Hey, Karina. Hey, beautiful. Good morning. Welcome. All right. So let's get into it. So the deck that I'm going to be sharing with you this week. So if you missed last week and you're curious about my favorite deck, make sure you go back and watch last week's where I shared the Work Your Light Oracle card deck. So that one was last week. This week we are doing another one of my favorites. I can't say, I don't really have, I guess, a second favorite. I have quite a few that I'll be sharing with you over the coming weeks. But this is definitely in those top ones. And so this is the Moonology Oracle Cards deck by Yasmin Boland. Now, I actually came across this first and foremost. Actually, I'll just show you. So like inside the lid, it's got a beautiful little quote. So that says, "Let the moon be your guide." And then the inside, like the other back side of the box, is just kind of blank, which is really nice. It comes with a guidebook, as most Oracle card decks do. So it's a little guidebook, and it goes to and has the reading for everything. I'll go more in depth into that in a moment. And then the deck itself, that's the deck here. How many cards is it? 44 cards, right? So every single card has that picture on that side. And then I'll go through and I'll show you guys what a lot of the cards actually look like on the other side as well. And I will be doing a reading. I'll explain, because for the weekly energies, I'll be doing a reading at the end as well. So what was I going to say? What was I going to start with? Okay. Oh yes. Yasmin Boland. Okay. So I actually came across this deck. I think it was online. Actually, I'm not sure where this deck came from. However, I definitely resonated with it very quickly, and I was very interested in the idea of a deck that focuses on more of the moon cycle energy, right? And I'll explain exactly how this deck works. And so the funny thing is, when I got it, I really, really resonated with it. And it wasn't until I'd actually been chatting with one of my beautiful clients who's also very attuned to the moon. And she mentioned that, yeah, like this is, there's actually a book by Yasmin Boland, who is the creator of this deck, that she follows religiously for moon cycles and how to attune to the moon, how to use, how to do new moon ceremonies, full moon ceremonies, all of that kind of thing, how to actually know what the specific energy around a particular new or full moon is for you, right? Depending on your astrology and your personal cycle and everything. And that's when, I haven't got the books kind of behind me out there, but there's a book by her, I've forgotten what the name of it is, but if you look up Yasmin Boland moon book, it'll probably come up. And that book has been absolutely instrumental in my understanding of the moon cycles and my understanding for how to tune into it, how to do new moon wishes, how to do a ritual around the full moon and releasing and everything. It's incredible, guys. So this deck is not only done by someone who has done an amazing deck, but she is actually someone who I would say is probably at the height of knowledge and information and wisdom around moon cycles and around moonology and everything like that. So I would really highly recommend, especially if this deck, if you purchase this deck and then it really resonates with you, I would really suggest going and actually getting her book, because that book is probably going to get the most use out of any book I have right now, and it has been for the last couple of months. So that's that. Let me just check the comments. I think I saw Lyndall jump on, say hey, beautiful. Okay, so let me share a little bit more about the deck with you. So it actually has different sections, right? And this is why I actually started getting really curious about moon cycles, because I used to always just think of the full moon and the new moon, and just kind of that was about as far as it went. And I knew, okay, full moon, stuff that you can release, things that you want to surrender, things that you want to finish up, cycles ending. You know, the bulging kind of the bright moon, it's the end of something. And then the new moon is kind of like when you start to plant new seeds, plant new goals, all that kind of stuff. But that's as far as I understood it. And it wasn't until I started using this deck, because it has a different card for each new moon. So a new moon is always in a particular sign of the zodiac, right? And it's a full moon as well. So for example, the full moon that we just had like a night or two ago, depending where you are in the world, that full moon was in Capricorn, right? And so a full moon in Capricorn energy, for example, has a very specific kind of energy because of where it happens to sit in the planetary alignment. So with Capricorn, there's a lot of earthly energy. It's a very grounded energy. It's about your habits, your routines, your like hard work and everything. So it's, you know, really like looking at, okay, where have I been too hard-headed and not really following my heart? Where can I find that balance? Have I found that balance? If I have, awesome, this moon is going to feel incredible for me. Whereas, you know, what other things might be coming up for me. And then of course, so that's, you know, there's a particular energy with a particular moon, but then there's also your own personal energy as well, but depending on your cycle. And the book, right, Yasmin Boland's book goes into that in depth, right? And that's where, you know, if you guys would have seen my post from last night, I had a very big release, right? A really, really big release around expectations, around how I'm seen in the world, around my routine, around how I will show up, around what I will speak up about, and how I will actually allow myself to move through the fears that I still held, right? So there's a lot of personal things that go into it as well. So in the deck, there's new moon cards. So there's one for each sign of the zodiac. There's full moon cards. So one for each sign of that for the zodiac there. There's moon phase cards, so things like the new moon phase, waxing crescent moon, first quarter moon, gibbous moon, that kind of thing. And then there's the special moon cards as well, which there's quite a few, and that's things like the new moon eclipse, right? A full moon eclipse, which is actually what it was last night. It was the third eclipse in a row, right? In where we are now in 2020. Waning moon, void of course moon, a cardinal moon, a fixed moon, things like the south node, the north node, that kind of stuff. So it has 4 different phases, 4 different sections basically of the deck. And so obviously you can use them separately. It comes with, you know, suggestions on different moon cycle readings, which is really nice, right? This is something that makes the deck kind of stand out from other decks, I think, is that because it is a moon cycle deck, you can do something like for example, they suggest the waning moon 4-card spread, right? So you do this during the waning moon phase of the cycle, and the 4 cards that come up is like, what do I need to release? What will help me? What will help me to accept and surrender? And then the final outcome, right? So it's kind of attuned to what's going on in that cycle, the kind of questions that you ask. There is actually even, because I'm going to share with you like how I choose to use these cards, what works best for me. They've got a full, like the Celtic Cross spread, which is probably the most common you would have seen in tarot, where it's like, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it there, right? That's the Celtic Cross. And so people use this so often for lots of different things. But they have this, and look, this is their suggestion. It's a very deep reading. It's 10 cards. Honestly, for me, this is something I wouldn't do with this deck. And the reason is because the cards are really in depth. There's a lot of information in them. There's the main energy. There's a lot of suggestions in terms of what else it could mean. And then there's talking about just attuning to that particular moon cycle. there's a lot of information and there's a lot of different meanings that it can take on. I would find if I was doing something like a full-on reading, like a 10-card reading with just this deck, there would be way too much confusion. That's just my take though, right? That's how I would feel, and I would not use personally this deck for an in-depth reading because I feel like it would just be too confusing. It's just too much information. The amount of information that you can get just from a single card in this deck is huge, right? And so as I share some other decks that I use, you'll see that there's others that are very simple, right? There's one message, one, thing. This is not so. And so I would not be recommending personally to use this for a deep card reading, but whatever feels good for you, right? Whatever works for you. So how I usually use these cards is, like I said, a single card pull. So I will actually just ask, what am I going through? One of my favorite ways to actually use this deck for myself and for my clients is for a 3-card reading. So these are new readings that I've done. I think I offered this a few weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where I did like a 3-card reading. And there was different decks that I would use and people got to choose which 3-card reading they wanted. So one of them was using the Moonology decks, and this is where I would do 3 cards where I would ask for past, present, and future, right? So I would ask basically what phase is in the past now, what phase have you just been through, what are you moving through now, what are you moving into now in the present moment, like what new phase is coming now, and then future, what is coming in the future, right? I find this deck perfect for that kind of a reading because, like I said, the cards themselves are very detailed and they do talk about phases. They do talk about like kind of sections and different things, different situations, different phases that you're going through. Let me know if that makes sense. I haven't checked the comments. Lyndall says explains a lot about last week. Sheesh. Yes. So cool. So drop down comments, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this deck. Let me know if what you think of this for yourself. I always love to know what your thoughts are. Let me know if I'm explaining this well. If there's any questions you have as well, please pop them in. And yes, I will give you guys a second. I'll just have a sip of my water. If you want to pop in any comments or any questions or anything like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what the cards look like. So in terms of the imagery of the cards, they are very simple. You know how I say for a lot of decks, maybe, look into the image, look into, is there something there that speaks to you, something that calls out to you? This is probably one of the decks that I would say that a little less because the images, the pictures themselves are very simple. So let me show you a few and I'll try and show from a few different sections of the deck. So for example, there we go. I got a couple of full moon cards here. So the full moon cards, like there's the full moon in in Sagittarius, right? So it's literally just like a picture of a full moon with like something to do with Sagittarius in the picture. There's, for example, full moon in Aquarius, same kind of thing. So full moon with a bit of an image of something to do with Aquarius, right? So water bearer, that kind of thing. So that's like, for example, the full moon cards. One of the, I think this is from either the special card, it's somewhere in the special card. So for example, disseminating moon, right? So it's a picture of that particular cycle of the moon, which I don't know too much about, so I'm not going to pretend I do. Here we go. All right, new moon. So the new moon cards, so again, there's one for each zodiac. So there's the new moon in Gemini, right? So the new moon, if you know this, is when the moon is like brand new. So it's starting, so it's not full, it's not being lit up and everything. So it's dark, right? A new moon is fully dark. So it's the beginning of something. And then you have, like an image there that represents Gemini. You've got, for example, the new moon in Taurus, right? So again, you've got a picture of the dark moon, the new moon, and then something, the bull for the Taurus, right? So very simple imagery for these cards. And then I'll show you a few more of like the different like special cards and things so you can kind of see what they look like now that you understand what the full moon and the new moon cards look like. So for example, here we go. So we've got third quarter moon. So you can see that it's, it's kind of quarter, third quarter, 3 quarters through, right? the waning moon, right? You've got, here we go. So this is one of the special ones, like the South Node, right? So the South Node talks about a particular part in our astrology where it is, the North Node is where we are going. The South Node is kind of our challenge in life, what we are going through. And it's all very, you know, personal, obviously, if you get your astrology readings done. Balsamic moon, right? And another one I'll show you, the blue moon, right? So this is like one of those special moons, like when you have an eclipse or something, you got the blue moon. So the pictures, you know, some of them are a little bit different, like this one, it's, you know, got a little bit more in depth to it, but otherwise, you know, they're very, very simple imagery. There's not too much there that I would get kind of, yeah, enthralled with in terms of the imagery. But what that, because of that, what it makes up for in this deck and why I love it so much is the descriptions in the guidebook and how in depth they are and how much is actually covered in that. So I will explain that because I'm about to do the reading for this week. Let me just check comments. All right, nothing else coming up yet. Cool. So yes, I'm going to do a reading for you guys. So let me know if you have any questions that you'd like to know about this, anything that I haven't covered. And if you're watching the replay as well, if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in because I will check back. All right, cool. So because of what I explained basically about this deck and how in-depth it is and how I would not be doing this for like an in-depth reading because it would just get confusing. I find it perfect for that past, present, future type reading, but I wouldn't go any deeper than that with it. Because of that, I'm going to be doing a 2-card oracle reading this week for the energies of the week. So this is collectively for everyone here inside Leaders, Not Lemmings, and for the energy that you will be experiencing and going through. Or of course, if you're watching this in the future and you just happen to be pulled to watch this live stream for some reason, the reading will apply to you at that point as well, right? Because time is not linear. It is energy, and whenever you get pulled to this is when you need to hear this. So the 2-card oracle reading that I'm going to do is literally, like I said in the post, take what resonates with you. So this way I'll have 2 different cards, 2 different bits of energy, and you'll be able to see what I mean by there's so much information and there's so many different variations of it as well. So you really get to tune in. When I read from the guidebook, I really suggest, you know, closing your eyes or watching me, whatever feels good for you, but really just taking a moment to just tune in what pulls to you. When I read the guidebook, when I read what it actually means, just listen, maybe even watch a replay of this and listen to this part again or whatever, and just let your mind guide you to what pulls to you, what stands out for you, what just hits home like, oh, that's for me, right? Because there's going to be a lot of different messages within. So cool. All right, so I'm going to begin shuffling. Whew. And we'll see what message wants to come through for this week. What messages do you have for the leaders, for beautiful souls? What energy will they be working with? What messages do you have to share with them? Show me clearly, show me clearly, show me clearly. Okay. Bear with me, guys. They wanna... Oop, there's one. Okay, we've got one. Fell out. Now we just got to wait for the second. Actually, I'll move that one so that it's out of the way. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, guides. Thank you, angels. Thank you, Moon, for your beautiful wisdom and guidance. What message do you have to share? Okay. Done. All right, so 2 cards that we have. Let's have a look. Oh, interesting. Okay, we've got two special cards. So it's not, it's not like a full moon zodiac or a new moon zodiac cards. So first and foremost, we have the new moon eclipse. For those who actually pay attention to astrology, we had a new moon eclipse 2 weeks ago, right? Before this full moon eclipse was a new moon eclipse. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what that could mean as well. So this says on the card, expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. So what this can mean as well that I found in the readings is it can give you a guidance in terms of if you have questions about timelines to kind of look at this could for some of you relate to what's been happening in the last couple of weeks, for example, or it could relate to something that happened about 2 weeks ago, because especially when something comes up that like I know there was a new moon eclipse 2 weeks ago, it can be a time frame kind of message as well. So let's read what this says about the new moon eclipse. So like I said, take a moment, tune in, and just listen to what comes through for you. If you want affirmation that you can achieve your dreams and get the desired outcome in the situation you're asking about, then this is it. This is a card of beginnings and there are powerful energies at work. But be prepared, it can be quite a ride, and events now could even be jarring and uncomfortable. However, any new directions you will take will almost always lead somewhere better than where you are at the moment. Whatever is happening now is happening for a reason you'll appreciate later on. A new portal is opening up, and all you have to do is have the courage to forget about the past and move through it. You're being put back on the right path. There is nothing to fear. So there's an affirmation that goes with the tuning to this moon that you can kind of tune into, which is, never mind the past, life evolves every single day, right? So it's just like a little reminder. And here, this is what I mean by it gets interesting, because there's additional meanings. So one of these additional meanings could actually resonate with you even more. First one, yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Next one, you're being shunted towards your life purpose. Whatever is happening now is happening for your highest good. And the last additional meaning, this is an important turning point in your life. There's also a little bit of a teaching, so this tells you a little bit about the new moon eclipse energy. So new moon eclipses are among the most exciting astrological events. They herald a complete change of pace. It's as though you're headed in one direction, probably being guided by your ego, and then here comes the divine, the goddess or spirit, to turn you instead to face the direction you actually need to go. Regardless of whether or not there's a new moon eclipse happening when you pull this card, it's a powerful affirmation of positive turnarounds. So there's a lot of messages within that one reading. Like I said, feel free to, watch this on the replay if you're watching live and that kind of stuff, or even watching the replay again, because there's a lot of messages within that. This is specifically around energies this week. So this is things that that you guys are going to be going through this week. So there's going to be something there that's going to pull at you, that's going to resonate with you. And it can very well also be a bit of a reminder, because like I said, I like to also look at these in terms of timelines to jog things of like, okay, when was the last new moon eclipse? 2 weeks ago. So there might be something that you've been going through in the last 2 weeks that's having that turnaround now, or something that happened 2 weeks ago that you're feeling like now is finally shifting. Now you're being kind of catapulted into a new direction, or whatever it happens to be. Okay. So that's the first one. The second card that came up, so again, take what resonates with you from these readings, is the mutable moon. And this says nothing is yet set in stone, right? Because it's mutable. That's the thing with mutable moons. So let me read a little more in depth on this one. So this is one of the special moon cards. Just quickly check comments if there was anything I missed. No, we're good. Okay, cool. So Mutable is all about change, shape-shifting, even that something is still developing. This card indicates that something is indeed changing and there's room for maneuver. So take it as a sign that the situation you're asking about is far from finalized. If you're not happy with the current state of play, that's marvelous. It means you can still change the course of the outcome. However, there is also a sense that the situation could perhaps be a little unstable. For some, this is great news because you can still influence it. Others will struggle with the uncertainty, but should stay with it a little longer. Either way, nothing is yet set in stone. So the attunement for the moon is, I know that the best will unfold for me. And then there's additional meanings again. So 5 different meanings. One of them can be, you're meandering towards your goal, and that's okay. Staying adaptable is the key to success for you now. Make sure you're not being led astray. Have you become distracted? Time to focus. And stay with it, whatever it means to you. So that's the different meanings, the additional meanings that it could have through. And so the teaching around the mutable moon is, in astrology, there are 3 so-called quadruplicities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. The mutable signs are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. And when the moon is in one of these signs, you know there's going to be more flexibility in any situation. Anytime you pull this card, it suggests that there's the opportunity to keep visualizing and affirming what you want, as there's still room for change. So think about what you want and enjoy the daydream. So I'm going to say, take what resonates with you from these readings. There might be one card that absolutely hits home for you, or just one meaning from it, or it could be both. If you feel like you are being pulled to both, the overarching kind of message that I'm feeling from the 2 of them is there is powerful change afoot. You are moving into a new direction, but there is also a possibility that this week you are still adjusting things. Things are still being mutable. Things are still, for some of you, that's awesome because you feel like, you know what, actually this isn't working. Thank God I can still pull out. Thank God I can still go in a different direction. For others of you that already know exactly where you're going, this is good as well, because it means that you can go, you know what, I can actually reassess something. I can actually this is actually letting it unfold a little bit, right? Taking your foot off the reins, hand off the reins, taking your foot off the pedal. That's the one I'm looking for. Taking your foot off the pedal a little bit and just being like, okay, there's still something here I need to just kind of allow to resolve. Things are still shifting. Things are still falling into place, right? And I don't need to control every single step of the way, right? So if you're, depending where you sit, depending which part of the cards resonates with you, depending, especially, one of the additional meanings for the mutable moon was stay with it, whatever it means to you, right? You're going to know whatever it is for you. And so they're saying, just stay with it. If it feels right for you, just have a little bit of extra patience. There's still going to be a little bit of uncertainty, but if you know that this is where your direction is, then go with it. Whereas if you're feeling like, oh, actually, you know what, this isn't what I wanted after all, thank God I can still change it. Yeah, you can. You can absolutely still shift. Everything's still moving around. You can totally change the course and the direction of that. So that's the energies for this week. Like I said, there's so much in every single card. Now you guys kind of have a bit more of a idea and a bit more of a personal experience of what I mean, that there's just so much that goes into every single one of these cards, that I would not be doing this for an extended reading, because I feel like it would just become way too much to comprehend and way too much to try to decipher. But that's just me. I really do love these cards for the shorter, smaller readings, because they just provide so much information in just one little card. So that's it that I had to share. That's the energetic reading for this week as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if this resonates with you. Let me just jump in quickly. Cool. All right, beautiful. I don't think I've missed any comments. So if you're watching the replay, if you do have any questions, any thoughts as I go through this, please feel free to drop them in. Next week, I'll be on sharing with another deck as well and doing a reading as always with that deck. So I'm looking forward to the next one. Have a beautiful week, whatever you happen to be doing, whatever you happen to be moving forward on or changing around and, you know, still redeciding and reshuffling things wherever you're at. Trust that it is perfect and it is all unfolding exactly on time for you. And it sounds like for some of you, especially with that new moon eclipse energy, this is a really powerful time that once you see what you want, to just go for it, right? You're going to feel that surge. You're going to feel that energy to just go in, right? Go all in. So love you so, so much. Have a beautiful week. And remember, live life on purpose.